Hey everyone, hope you're having a good start with Miss Olson. I'm sure that you are behaving well. I mean, you are only like 20 minutes in the class, so hopefully there are no issues. But anyway, here are a couple things that we need to look at in 9.5. I know it's hard to see. I apologize again for this template. It's solving quadratic equations. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, I'm allergic to you and you're not even here. That's deadly. Solving quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. Really what the focus is for this one, I've kind of in parentheses given you a focus of each lesson because a lot of them have been like 3 days. This one is on the word discriminant is the focus of this lesson, is the main little thing that we're adding here today. Our goal is that students will be able to identify how many solutions a quadratic equation has based on the discriminant. If there's not any new math or formulas that you need to be doing, we're just going to take a closer look at the quadratic formula and look at one piece of information that it tells us, and it's going to help us looking at our overall answers. First, we need to describe what this thing called the discriminant is. The discriminant is just the part that is under the square root. So I can't make that more clear. The discriminant is only b squared minus 4ac. The discriminant does not include the square root. It only includes what is under the square root. So technically the formula for the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. It is just the number that we get under our square root. The reason that this number is important, because if this number is positive, then we will always have two real solutions. If this number is positive, then that means that the plus or minus in our quadratic formula, opposite of b, plus or minus over 2a, the plus or minus matters. If it's positive, we'll do the plus, get an answer, do the minus and get an answer. If the discriminant is 0 here, then the plus or minus doesn't matter. Plus 0 is the same thing as minus 0. So our graph would only have one solution if this number, the discriminant, is 0. If the discriminant is negative, that means that our parabola either is above or below. That means we have no real solution because we would be trying to square root a negative number here. So the discriminant is important because it'll tell us how many solutions our parabola is going to have. Let's look at the example. Determine the number of real solutions of this graph. It's not even asking us to solve it. It's just saying how many solutions will this have. Well, I still like to lay out my A, B, and C value here. A is 1, B is 8, C is -3. And I use b squared minus 4 times a times c. This would be 64 plus 12. So my discriminant is 76. So determine the number of real solutions. Well, that means we have 2. It's positive. We have 2 real solutions. If they asked us what number is the discriminant or to give the discriminant, then that number would just be 76. Again, it does not include the square root. Letter B, determine the number of real solutions. This one's not equal to 0, so first we would have to get it set equal to 0 by subtracting 6x from both sides. Now I have my A, B, and C, so b squared minus 4 times A times C. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 7 is 56. So this would be a -20. How many real solutions do I have? I have 0 real solutions. Or I would, well, no, that we'll get to that later in Algebra 2. We have 0 real solutions. We have no real solutions. They asked us what number is the discriminant. Well, the number that's under the square root, the number that's the discriminant is -20. That tells me we have no real solution. Again, if we got a discriminant of 0, that would mean that we have 1 real solution. The one other thing that comes up in this lesson is it says solve the equation using any method. Explain your choice of method. What they're trying to do is get you to see that we have all these ways that we've looked at over the last couple weeks for how to solve a quadratic equation. And it's trying to get you to understand that based on how they give you the information, it might set up the way that you want to solve. I'm not going to solve all of these. I'm just going to talk through a couple of things that they mean. What they mean is that right now we have this equal for this one is equal to our C value. Well, if it's equal to our C value, they're trying to set you up to say, oh, if it's already equal to the C value, let's just complete the square. With letter B, there's not really a whole lot we can do. We could move the C value over. They're trying to say, look, this is already in standard form. Why don't you graph it? Or why don't you use a quadratic formula? In letter C, they're really trying to set you up to say, let's factor, because we have an A value of a 1. So they're trying to think, what can I multiply to get 12, add to get 8? They're trying to set you up to solve by factoring. If they were to give you one that looked like this, where all we have is an x squared, or maybe it looks like this, they'd be trying to set you up to solve to get x by itself, to square root both sides. Well, you'd have to divide by 9 first. To divide by 9, square root both sides, don't forget your plus or minus. They'll set up different problems and again try to lead you to, oh, I'm going to use this method or that method depending on what we have. No matter what, you can choose any method you want to. No matter what, if you get your equation set equal to 0, you can use the quadratic formula every single time if you want to. So if I'm talking about this and you're like, Mr. Lehman, this is confusing, I don't want to try to decide what to use. Just tell me what to use. Well, just use the quadratic formula every single time and you'll be good to go. If you get this choosing different methods thing, well, then try it. If you think one is set up to be easier than another, then use it. But otherwise, you can just consider questions that look like this, solve using any method, explain your choice of method. You can just consider that to be an opportunity to practice the quadratic formula even further.